All right, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen of the interwebs, we are live for the Beacon TVL Show here with myself, Chris, co-founder Andrew here, also from Central Europe, saying hello. And we have a long-awaited guest. I was actually clocking the last time we actually had an interview, Guillaume. It was nearly 3 years ago.
Oh my God.
That has been since we've had you, here on an interview here on the show. But this is your first time here on the TVL Show, the Total Value Lock Show, which is part of our free community, but wanted to welcome you. Thanks for taking the time and say hello to everybody out there.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, I didn't know it was so long, so that's I don't know if it makes us old or not, but yeah, 3 years seems so far away.
It's just one of those things, right? The time just kind of flies because I've seen you at ETH Denver a couple times. Yeah. I saw you permissionless in Salt Lake City, and
this was probably after the first time I was at ETH Denver. So I was kind of straddling the previous life and the new crypto life. And this is kind of shortly thereafter, I guess, that I went to my first crypto conference. I was converted to be full-time crypto, I guess. And then, we met shortly thereafter.
And we'll talk about that during our What We Learned section, because we actually have a bit of backstory. Like there's so much that, your influence has had with Beacon and how we educate our audience. So for us, this is a huge moment for you, having you here, and we have so much to be thankful for, specifically on concentrated liquidity, which we will talk about just a bit with Panoptic, your company moving forward. So Andrew, just want to take a second and ask, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, and I was just reflecting on what you said, Chris, about it being like 3 years, and I think DeFi is like dog years.
Oh yeah.
So that means it's probably been like 22 years or something like that.
All the rugs didn't happen. FTX was still not even top of the food chain, but emerging. So yeah, in 3 years, a lot has happened for sure.
Oh yeah, the last time we talked, Luna was still a thing. Not the new Luna, the old Luna.
Yeah.
When people talk about Luna now, they're talking about an AI agent, and things are quite happy about that specific Luna. But
CZ's been to jail and gotten out.
That's true.
There's so many things that have happened.
People have changed, you guys. 3 years is such a long time.
We're like goldfish, right? There's we're actually going to talk about Phantom Sonic in a minute, and just how different it was with, Daniel Sestigal and Andre Cronje and their projects 3 years ago. And now they're going to be coming back because they're going to be launching on Phantom Sonic, which we'll talk about in just a moment. So again, want to say hello to everybody out there in the audience. Again, if you could please like and subscribe if you like what you're hearing so far. There's a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk about a couple of things before we talk about Panoptic, but what I'll do is I'll quickly pull up our crypto, or rather our bubbles. Let's start with bubbles. And it's not very often, Andrew, that we see that we're just seeing green, whether it just be through, old dinosaur tokens, as they're calling them. It's like 2021 all over again, quite literally, because we're seeing all of these 2021 coins pumping incessantly. We're seeing things like ENS even, things that have been around for a while. Curve is at 121% after everything that happened with Michael Egoroff. Having his liquidation issues, back when it looked like Curve was going to go, way down. It's almost like looking in the Wayback Machine.
Up 25% on the week. Or it's 27%.
Yeah, obviously there's news behind a lot of this, like with HBAR, with Ondo, with Algo, things like that. But
there's IOTA, which seems to be close to the biggest gainer. I didn't know they were still around.
Exactly. I think that's what a lot of people are doing. It's just like they're just pumping older coins.
Yeah, if IOTA made a big announcement, I didn't see it on my Twitter timeline for sure.
Yeah, I hadn't seen it either. So this is interesting. eGold is well up. This is the token for Supra, a new layer one that's coming out that we've contributed to a research paper for. That's coming out very soon, or rather with the upgrades to Supra going live. They were at permissionless as a large high TPS blockchain. But overall, we're looking at where the market has kind of migrated to. Obviously, we got that really, really close sniff to 100K, really big psychological mental barrier. And, ultimately looking at where we're at now, obviously we've seen pullbacks and pullbacks. Guillaume, I wanted to get your opinion real quick on how you feel the market has been in terms of a microcosm of a November that we will never forget.
I mean, of course, Bitcoin has led the charge for sure. And again, I didn't know about this website. I'm surprised to all the alts and it's like dinosaur coins that we haven't heard about that gained so much. I'm still focused mostly on kind of ETH and again Bitcoin as well, but that's a surprise for me. I think again again with the Bitcoin and the election, people are noticing how digital asset can be, but it seems that they just auto buy whatever shows up first on their Coinbase app when they first fund it. So
we said that last week. That's exactly what we said last week. It was like Stellar Lubins, stuff like that. I'm like, this is all free coins you got when you signed up for a Coinbase account back in the day.
Exactly. So again, and ripping for again also unknown reasons, but it's I mean it's dynamic. It's good for the ecosystem. People will start paying attention again, I'm sure. Not just boomers and their ETFs, but then those that have spent their play money on the Bitcoin ETF and we ETF. Now they say, okay, let's see what's next. But yeah, very good.
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to bring up too, and I need to refresh this page each time because I need to kind of double check on this, is with the ETH BTC ratio where it's at, Andrew. A lot of this activity, a lot of people are not necessarily calling for the top, but they're calling for, obviously we must be in some form of altcoin season or down to it when people are starting to really just push these older coins to the point where they could possibly be beta plays. And maybe they could be because they've been dormant for so long, and now new dev work, new innovations will come to each of these coins as we get closer up in this leg. Just want to get your thoughts on where the ratio sits currently.
Oh, I was just looking at Bitcoin dominance, and we're at about 55%. But let me pull up ETH BTC.
Yeah, we're at 0.039, so we're well below the 0.05 where we used to talk about back in the bear. Your thoughts.
0.05 was definitely not support. I think that we are starting to see a rotation into ETH, but we're also just seeing, some pops on large caps. I think, for this to be alt season, for this to be really, really something like alt season, we would be skipping ETH. So I think we're seeing we're seeing multiple mini rotations, and we're seeing kind of like sped up mini phases, especially when Bitcoin hits resistance. So right now, Bitcoin is at resistance. But unless you think 100K-ish is the top, and I don't particularly think that, this is just like a precursor on altcoins. And maybe that theory that Professor G had there, that it's, folks getting into Coinbase for the first time, they're just buying large cap altcoins, and then we're just seeing this little run. Maybe it's a little bit of a first wave. And I don't want to ramble on too long, but I think a lot about how every cycle, everybody is trying to there's always voices trying to convince themselves that this time is different in some way. That, last cycle, it was the super cycle theory. We're going to have this bull market that it's just never going to end, guys. It's just going to keep going. And now I think there's questions about, how couldn't this cycle be different because it's been so institutionally led. But I still believe that generally we're going to see a lot of the normal patterns play out, which means we're still in the transition between the Bitcoin rotation and the ETH rotation. So those are my thoughts, Chris.
And I think you muted, Chris, but one thing that I want to add too, I don't know if you're looking at this as well, but coming from the options world myself, I look at volatility charts, not just the price, but then you can compare the volatility on ETH and the volatility on Bitcoin. Now Bitcoin has very mature markets on the ETFs, but I mean, the Bitcoin volatility has collapsed over the past couple of weeks, kind of coinciding with that micro top of like 99K. And ETH has increased. It's almost like the 6 months high now. And that tells you a different story as well. Even though it may not be moving as much, it's still getting kind of frothy in the sense that it's in play a bit more. And typically these low volatility periods is just kind of a bit boring, no new information. You just kind of go with the flow. But when volatility picks up, then this is when you have some type of kind of interest that is perhaps unexpected compared to the different ones. So again, at least I see ETH vol picking up, and at least that's kind of any signal up or down, it doesn't matter. It's just going to be a bit more frothy moving forward for sure.
Exactly, which is why you should definitely look into Panoptic when they come out, speaking about volatility, speaking about volume, something we talk about quite a bit in our communities. One thing I did want to point out before we move forward is that, this is Cyber Monday week, after Black Friday, a lot of great deals out there. If there's one deal that you may want to consider getting, TradingView is, I guess, till midnight tonight Eastern. This is really the only day that you can get TradingView at a very cheap price. And this is one that, everyone in our community looks forward to every year. So if you don't have a subscription to TradingView, obviously not an ad, not a sponsor of this show, but this is a tool that we use quite a bit. So if there's something that you have, if you didn't know that there's a sale going on, feel free to check it out. And again, I'll do a quick segue to our group, Total Value Lock. This is our free community here from Beacon DeFi. Join the many people who have joined us here. We opened this up on February 20th, just before ETH Denver this year. And this is our great free community. I definitely recommend you check out the State of Crypto and DeFi Q4 2024, which talks about our last webinar we did that I led on Saturday. So again, we've got a ton of people here, a ton of action takers, all of them, many of them here live watching us, that we're going to learn a lot about Panoptic and just about the show in general. So thanks to everybody there. Thanks to all of our Beacon founding members and our Beacon Accelerator members for helping make all of this possible. So the big story of the week, obviously, is XRP, guys, is over $2.41. Technically, if you pound the Wayback Machine, we're really just back up to where we were, if you want to look at it that way. But overall, XRP is really just, it flipped both Sol and Tether, which I didn't see Tether coming, but yeah, the Sol one was interesting, but seeing it hit Tether and jumping that is just an amazing move. Now, we had, groups from XRP.cafe on the October 16th show of the TVL show. And we heard about, there's new things coming. We have an EVM sidechain coming. There's a smart contract layer coming on top of the XRP ledger. During this euphoria of the past week, they did pass a vote. XRP account fees fall by 90%. So it was 10 XRP to start an account. So basically you get an account, it's not activated. You have to actually fund it with, 10 XRP to activate it to start using it. They've now reduced that after a vote now down to 1 XRP, which is, that's a big drop. Obviously they're going to try and capitalize on as much of this as possible. Makes a lot of sense in my personal opinion. There is DeFi coming to XRP. I've talked with quite a few groups there. This is all, pretty interesting. On the 16th, we also talked about at Swell, which is Ripple's conference, they released RLUSD. They talked about it, at least. It's been around since June. They've been shopping it to a lot of partners. And according to this article from Cointelegraph, the launch for it is today. But I haven't seen anything on the timeline specifically for this. But having XRP, having a stable coin, which is it's done by dollar deposits as well as T-bills and other cash equivalents. So it's not just a tokenized stable coin like the majority of what we're going to see tsunami into DeFi in 2025 through BlackRock and BUIDL and Tether's Hadron protocol and all these other frameworks coming. But I think that, obviously the election was a huge boon for XRP. They're kind of making the most of their moment. Obviously, we have a lot of people in our community who are big holders of XRP. They're very excited by this news. I don't know if you have any plans to maybe put some tentacles, some feelers out into XRP, Guillaume. But obviously, this is probably a long time coming to have some sort of DeFi services for what was supposed to be a really prolific payment rail mesh.
Yeah, I don't have much to comment. I've never purchased any XRP. I took notice when it flipped ETH. Maybe was it also 3 or 4 years ago?
Yeah.
This is interesting, but yeah, I mean, good for them if they have kind of project. We haven't heard about them, but I'm sure they kept on building over the past few years. But yeah, no, that's good on them for sure.
Andrew, I know you have some thoughts about XRP. You met with the XRPL folks along with me in Salt Lake, so they're really pushing for this, and there's a very rabid community. We have multiple people in our communities that are long-term XRP holders. This has to be somewhat music to their ears, more than with the Cardano holders.
Fun times talking about XRP in 2024. Never thought.
Not on the bingo card?
That was not on my bingo card for this cycle. I think the main thing about XRP is that they have a lot of money and they're well capitalized. I don't think their technology is particularly good. I don't think developers really like them. Frankly, some of the developers that work with them that I spoke to, very diplomatically not saying bad things about the company. But it kind of sounds like a very slow moving, I feel like I'm talking to someone that works at like Bank of America when I talk to somebody that works at XRP. Like, it's very slow. They're still following up on projects that someone who's no longer with the company started. Lots of bureaucracy. And I think it's kind of, they've had like a tepid interest in DeFi. It's not like the first thing that they're building for. So I think the main positive thing about XRP is that they have a lot of money, and now they're not having as many headwinds related to the regulatory environment. So they're, benefiting from from pending policy shifts. So it could do quite well, but from a DeFi perspective, like I find it quite boring. I think, all of the serious devs, all of the cool stuff is not getting built on XRP, and I don't think there's going to be a compelling reason for it to grab developer mindshare.
I think it's a fair point. To quote Susan, they're probably as close to TradFi deep state as you can get. I don't know about that. But we'll see exactly how they navigate the next couple of months, as clearly there's interest. Good for them for having all of these thoughts in mind. Well, like you said, when I talked to Ripple specifically in Salt Lake, they were very diplomatic. So we'll see specifically at how the SEC, at least where it's going to be moving to, is going to affect them. One thing we talked about over the weekend was that, we thought that possibly, current SEC, I guess they're governors, Hester Pierce, aka Crypto Mom, was in line to be the next SEC chair now that Gary Gensler is leaving. But it looks like it's actually Paul Atkins who, has a specific tie to the SEC. Is the next person to take the job. Problem is, he's a bit reluctant to leave his current comfy environs of his capital job, as opposed to coming in to a more administrative role here, and really just trying to clean up after the mess that Chair Gensler has left. Specifically, with the black eye right now of what's gone on with the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals with regards to Tornado Cash. So. Guillaume, I'll start with you. Do you have any thoughts on, how the SEC is going to be effective on, where, at least from a volatility and just in a pro crypto standpoint, Just any thoughts on how this pick is going to be important?
Any shift away from whatever Gary Gensler was doing is going to be net positive. Again, as a builder and a founder, we have to worry way too much about, are we doing it okay? Do we have enough language that covers for XYZ? We know SEC went after, Coinbase, Uniswap, Kraken, everyone under the sun, and we don't want to have a spotlight on us. So as soon as we kind of see if, and I doubt they will do it, but if they stop being so aggressive in their announcements and make it so that we can grow and build, and even regulating anything now is so premature. I mean, stable coins is definitely the simplest thing you can regulate, and it should not be rocket science, but it's going to take years. When you get to DeFi, when you get to exchanges, lending, options, perps, or any new instrument that no one over the age of, 60 that's in the Senate has ever heard about, it's going to take a long, long time. So again, the stance from being attacked by all sides to just being left alone for a little bit is immensely bullish, at least for US-based builders.
Yeah, agree. And we know quite a few founders who feel very similarly to this, where the SEC could actually go after the real violators of KYC and AML, as opposed to going after large builders in this space that frankly have helped build the foundation. And maybe to the credit of who they're nominating, that probably will happen. So Andrew, did you have any thoughts about Paul Atkins as a replacement?
Not particularly. I'll have to take a look and see what he said, but it sounds like we're not really firm on who it's going to be yet. But as Professor G said, or to paraphrase a little bit, anyone not Chair Gensler is probably going to be an improvement. It's hard to go much worse. So I think it's going to be a net positive.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Gary had some hubris in thinking, all right, we're going to regulate this. No more of this kind of backdoor type of financial system. We'll rope them in, but they probably hit a wall very quickly. Like when you go over to Uniswap and they say, stop doing this. It's like, we can't. It's actually a smart contract on the world computer. No one can stop it. And then that's kind of you can change the interface, you can change a lot, but it's like they have to approach this in a way that is a little bit more in the know of what we cannot control. And again, as a US-based entity, we do make sure we do KYC on the interface. We have the whole kind of and onboarding, again, filtering out US IP addresses, of course, but even blocking VPNs. But that's one level. But if a bad actor wants to do anything, they can still do it. It's open and permissionless. So there's no amount of regulation that will kind of prevent that, I'd say.
Yeah, that's a great point. And, one that I think is going to have its good and bad, right? And at least in the public eye, moving forward, people want the freedom, but they're not necessarily ready to embrace the responsibility of what all of that what provides. So that's something that we've thought about quite a bit, something that we talk to our communities about, especially because our goal is to make DeFi accessible, is understanding, yes, you want this freedom, but know that it comes with some responsibility and some things that you're just going to have to embrace and, stay within. We will move on to the next story that I have here on the list, and that is something we've talked about, for the majority of this year, Andrew, and that is the launch of Phantom Sonic. The snapshot for the S token was taken on Monday, December 2nd, and they had their Genesis block. Block 0 happened on Monday, very early in the morning, which was great. So everything, it worked as part of, their test net. So soon you'll be able to swap your FTM to S token, which should be launching, I think, in the next couple of weeks. I heard that there's a rumor that could be on Friday. I don't think that's going to happen, but, we'll see. But they're actually going to start, pushing really hard to get as many people into the new Phantom Sonic infrastructure as possible. Looks like, I think during trials, transaction finality now at 720 milliseconds, which is unbelievably fast. we'll see exactly, where they end up, with regards to how many new protocols are going to be heading that way. So yeah, this is something that a lot of people are looking forward to. It isn't alt L1, it's not an L2, which is obviously something that's interesting, I guess, to me, because we've had such an L2 narrative this year, Andrew. So just want to get your thoughts, since we've talked about this for the majority of the year. It's kind of hard to believe we're finally here.
Yeah, 2025 soon. Well, there's an obvious joke here, which is, well, maybe it's not that obvious. My obvious jokes usually aren't obvious. Going back to the bubble map, like talking about everything from 2021 doing well, that seems really bullish for Phantom Sonic. I think it's bullish for Phantom and alt L1s. Maybe the L2 narrative's over. It played out. That was a 2023, early 2024 thing. It's back to alt L1s. I think the success of Phantom Sonic is really going to be determined more on the application layer. If Andre actually has something interesting to launch and it isn't just like on-chain credit. I think going back to things that I was talking about 6 months ago, like I feel like the thesis for a really successful Phantom Sonic is that you have speed that's comparable to Solana, but on an EVM compatible chain. So if you can attract experienced EVM devs, experienced Solidity devs that want to build something that benefits from being really fast, I think that is where there's potential value creation. Otherwise, it's kind of just going to be, do we build some fun bull market Ponzi's over there? Because that's kind of how it worked for Phantom last time. So we need one of those two things to happen. Otherwise, I think it'll be a flop. But I think we'll find out pretty quickly, like within the first week or two of the launch of whether it's going to be something interesting or whether or not everybody's just going to move on and forget about it.
Guillaume, any thoughts on Phantom Sonic? There's a good chance I think Uniswap v4 deploys there, which is something that means would be a target for you guys as well. So,
yeah, I mean, the EVM compatibility landscape is good for builders like us in a sense, because we build for mainnet, but we can port to layer 2s, alt layer 1s, Avalanche again, and Phantom Sonic. So it's all of the above if there's demand. And for us, it's not a lot more efforts to just spin up a new subgraph and kind of interface and connectors and everything. So it should be, if it's get some Lindy and Uniswap launches there, and do you have some good ecosystem and you can want to trade their Sonic tokens, options on those as well, we can launch for sure. Again, but you have Monad, Berachain, Mega ETH, all of those will be competing the same kind of sector of the optimizing kind of trilemma. So I would say that unless there's a huge reason not to, we will probably launch there. But then it might not be the main growth that we would expect to see from, like, again, Berachain and all of those have spraying money all over the place just to attract teams and builders. And you as a builder, you say, do I build on mainnet or even base or even Unichain, or I get paid some Bera tokens and kind of go there. So that's it's a very, very aggressive kind of type of ecosystem that is built because there's so much incentives. I mean, we've seen Blast, and Blast, I don't know if it lasts that long, but again, we'll see if that pans out. But I would say that the ultimate result is that more chains, more TVL, more fun, I'd say.
I like that. More chains, more fun. I want to highlight this little post that I laughed at last night, which is very much on message for Berachain, and that is, don't forget to tell your family that Berachain is coming to you in Q5. So that's very much on message. Q5 for Berachain launch. I will say, as a shout out to the team over at Say Blockchain, They have been carrying the flag for parallelization with EVM operations for the better part of 6 months now. So hopefully, with the head start that Sei has been given as a blockchain, pivoting from just a Cosmos L1 now to a parallel EVM chain with V2, they continue to do so.
Speaking of fun, wouldn't it be fun if Berachain just never launched?
That's the joke, right?
No, but I mean, just stay pre-product.
I mean, they have a very good niche of having awesome parties during
Yep.
conferences. They should like capitalize, charge like $5 more, and then use this as a way to kind of scale up.
There you go, and they could have a pump.fun platform to raise money so they can continue having parties around the globe. I mean, I see no problem with that personally. They've gotten a lot of mileage out of the the RDO beta chain, so, or the Bardio beta chain. So, we'll see what happens. But hello to our friends at Berachain, specifically at MVP. Good to see you, brother, from Salt Lake City. I did want to pivot real quick to since we were talking about rotations. Coinbase has now activated Apple Pay as an on-ramp into Coinbase. This is a long time coming, but we're looking to definitely see an explosion of, I guess, normies and retail coming back into Coinbase. Obviously, this helps them build their moat. No idea if there's going to be an off-ramp, obviously. Now, obviously, that would be interesting if you're able to off-ramp back into some sort of Apple Pay fiat.
Well, Chris,
provider.
I think it would be great. I think it would be great if Coinbase integrated with Apple Pay, and it was just a one-way thing. You can only buy crypto; you can't cash out. I think that's the sort of innovation we need to be seeing.
That sounds very Robinhood, but yes, no, I agree. What's interesting, actually, and this thanks to all the eagle-eyed observers out there, is that is it here? Nope. I had it's right here. Sorry. In terms of their video for this, Peanut and its spiritual brother, first convicted raccoon Fred, were listed here on the render for the UI. So now I'm wondering, are we going to see listings for both Peanut and Fred? Obviously, they already have Bonk, but for anybody who's been curious about why there's a little bit of a buying window for Peanut again, it's probably because there's a good chance they're going to be listed on Coinbase very, very soon. And again, this just leads to more ideas, Andrew, that Base will become the ultimate corpo chain and will onboard all of the normies outside of Solana with Jupiter. But I don't know. Are you going to buy some Peanut, Andrew?
Maybe I already have.
He's maxed out. His whole wallet has rotated into Peanuts weeks ago, I'm sure.
Oh, we're not going to go full tilt in that. We know people that have already done that, and we're not doing that.
Back to Fred. Okay.
Back to Fred. There you go. Rotate from Peanut to Fred. Here we go. We're on the Fred train. I love it. I absolutely love it. It's funny. I saw something on the timeline earlier today wondering if meme coins have ruined DeFi. And the answer, I think, has to be kind of, I don't think it's two-sided.
No.
I mean, I think DeFi needs meme coins to onboard users, because that's what attracts a lot of people, at least into the space.
I don't think DeFi needs meme coins. I think DeFi, everybody can do whatever they want, and that's the point. So if you want to buy the squirrel, buy the squirrel. If you want to market make the squirrel, market make the squirrel. But I don't know if false dichotomy is the right terminology, but I don't think it's needed, and I don't think it's not needed. It's just part of the landscape.
I mean, I think it's a very good way of onboarding, as you say. And you trade some meme coins, you have either Sol or ETH or whatever tokens. Now you're part of the family in a sense. And if you need to learn to know how to use AMMs and Uniswap, then that's some skill you keep forever. If you get to a point where you have to do some more fancy trades with these meme coins or get liquidated, I don't know if you can lend them, but the whole thing is just kind of a training wheels experience, speedrunning finance. And by the time you understand all the pitfalls, losing all your peanuts, then now you may be more comfortable doing it with real coins and
real coins. I love it.
Try short Bitcoin the same way that you would short peanuts. Let's see how that works for you.
So, peanut options?
Oh, I like that. You could.
This is the future of meme coins. Like the AMM model made it trivial to launch a new coin. And ERC20s tokenized, but then you can swap them. That's the big innovation. And then with you have the bonding curves, I guess, on Pond.fund, but eventually when they do graduate, it's all AMMs. And yeah, the next iteration, if you want to have people learn about trading and AMMs, trade a meme coin. If you want to learn about options, I'd rather you lose some money trading peanut options and don't lose your shirt than try to do it on the big guys that kind of move against in a way that is very hard. But yeah, I think again, we're launching options in a way that's very similar to Uniswap. So you could imagine a factory of meme coin launches on Panoptic where it's options first. You want to trade options, call or put options. It's more difficult and more complex, perhaps not difficult, but complex than rich than spot. But if it's easy, and then if that's the one way for you to understand what a put and a call option is with peanuts, then you'll be more comfortable doing it with, again, your more established and reputable coins later on.
Excellent. Well, what I will do before we head over to talking about Panoptic, the main reason we have Guillaume Lambert here, of course, thanks again for joining us today, is Forbes has put out their 30 under 30. And the interesting part about this is that a large number of people on this list are crypto facing. Specifically, the co-founder of Polymarket, or the founder of Polymarket, Shane Copland, is listed on here, as well as co-founders of Ostium, and let's see, where's the other ones in particular? Oh yes, Cindy Liao, co-founder of Drift, and then we have Sunny Agarwal and Dev Ojha from Osmosis. I had no idea that Sunny was 27. My goodness, when we had him on, he was barely 24 then. Crazy. But there's a lot of crypto facing people here on this list. So lending more credibility that, when we had Max from Variational, again, he's very young at 22. He said that, going to all these college clubs where he was at UT Austin, is that the kids are all right. We're seeing a lot of young entrepreneurs, a lot of young builders. This is very promising to see, a lot of younger people building what's going to be the future of finance, here in DeFi. So congrats to all the winners on there, all the people who were nominated. There's a list to the entire list in our show notes, which you can get, of course, going to Total Value Locked and checking out the recording there. But let's go ahead and move on to our feature for today, and that is Panoptic, which is the project from Guillaume Lambert. We're so used to calling you Professor Lambert. Myself being a professor myself, of course, happy to be amongst another educator. This is what I wanted to ask real quick before we went into the story of how you got into Panoptic. So, would you say that Panoptic is the spiritual predecessor to Yubo, or are they very different projects?
Yeah, so maybe the history is that I was a professor. I was an applied physics professor, assistant professor at Cornell University. It's a very traditional academic route, PhD, postdocs, faculty position. And then I was kind of interested in DeFi and Ethereum again, and was on the kind of 2017 class, I guess, post ICO, but still. But at the end of the day, very, very interested in DeFi innovations, whether it's kind of science from my lab, but also kind of Ethereum. It was very, very unique and kind of pretty awesome. I would play with it, dabble with it. But yeah, at the end of the day, I was still a professor. When Uniswap V3 launched, I was interested in kind of LPing there as well. I lost money the first week without really knowing. So I did it for a while. Then I withdrew my tokens and say, wait, what's the value of my assets before and after? And I kind of, it wasn't clear, and I kind of lost money and I say, okay, wait, what is this? So I as a summer project in 2021, decided to study Uniswap in a way that is kind of a bit more systematic, like the math. How do you model XYZ? I'm a physicist by training, and when you look at the price of an option or the price of an asset, it's actually moving in a random fashion. And we were talking earlier about like support and technical analysis, but if you want to fully embrace the world of options, there's no pattern. It's all random. You cannot predict the weather 10 months from now. You cannot predict the price 10 minutes from now. So that at the end of the day, that's kind of the type of math that I bring to, at least I brought to Uniswap, made it very, very kind of maybe unique, but with that, you can kind of study it in a way that's a little bit more kind of tangible. But at the end of the day, I was able to do and draw some parallels between Uniswap LP, which is kind of on the LP side. You can swap on one side, but the LP is on the other side with considered liquidity. They are taking a lot of risks. It's not trivial to do it. You have to manage your position, stay in range. When it's out of range, money's kind of sitting there and you lose money. And if you're doing it in a meme coin or in a coin you don't want to hold, you can be stuck holding the bag all the way down. So that's interesting on one side, but it's also like very risky. And turns out that the risks of being an LP is very much like selling options. And selling options is also very hard. I have to lie on my brokerage firm account to say, yes, I have 20 years of trading experience. Allow me to sell options. Robinhood allows you to buy options, GameStop style, because it's low risk. You lose what you pay, and that's it. But with options, you can lose way, way more. And this is what people kind of refer to as impermanent loss, or in the options world, it's gamma risk. But yeah, so at the end of the day, study this, made it so that I could use some of the language and the strategies from options trading. I do trade options on the side as well in TradFi. But the key point is that I wanted to push this further. I applied for a Uniswap Foundation grant, and they helped me kind of fork their analytics interface to make it a bit more options-like. So I would show the implied volatility of a pool, which is kind of rooted in the fact that it's an options-like system. And sometimes you have IV in the hundreds, 200%. And that's very, very risky. In TradFi, unheard of for 500%, but you see this all the time with meme coins. Or sometimes you see, ETH USDC. It's a very, very liquid market. The IV on Uniswap is lower than the one on, say, Deribit or any options exchange. And that means that as a seller, you get paid less than what you should. And that IV measure typically has to be higher than realized volatility. That's kind of the realize what's happening. IV is future looking. But anyways, the whole process of creating a framework for LPing, associating this with options, allowed me to create this interface called Ubo. It's broken now. Sorry for those that were using it, but the subgraph had to be resynced and I couldn't do it. But I would show some information that was unique, some information that was used like a getting point for entering a position and maybe even leaving a position. So you have to kind of be careful. So the analytics interface is what I had made, also forked their main entry point, meaning that when you want to create an LP position, I don't know if many people use it, but you do it on Ubo. It's a bit more, you have a P&L chart, you have slightly a different way of entering. This one still works. I still use it to this day. But so the whole thing made it so that I wanted to build a product that I would use and make my LPing journey a bit easier and better. And then then that's kind of what brought me to maybe end of 2021, early 2022. But yeah, the Ubo was Uniswap Foundation funded, created a new interface that allows me as the first user, but also I think your community as well, Chris, but people can still use it to understand a bit better. Okay, what's the deal with that pool? Why am I making money in this one and not this one, type of thing?
Yeah, I will honestly say it launched a revolution, at least in our mastermind, with how we looked at liquidity management, and specifically how just on the idea that as a yield farmer, you could actually, profit off of really just off of the trades of other traders in the space between two assets. And that was probably the easiest way we could break it down, rather than just saying it's a really great way of managing puts and sells for DeFi options. Because there are a lot of people that are like, I have no idea what that means. But, but just by saying that you could provide liquidity and profit off of the behavior of other traders and investors was very bullish. It actually led to a weekly call that we had for, I don't know, Andrew, 8-9 months. Specifically for the unicorns call. It was really popular.
Oh, it wasn't that long. It's for like 3 months.
Again, DeFi timelines, right? It seemed like it was 3 years practically. But But yeah, that's really awesome. So in terms of creating Panoptic, obviously you have quite a large team now. What's that story been like for the last? Because I know you've been building it for more than a year and a half now, right? It's been a couple years
Yes.
in
So
the
the hitting
making.
the reality of creating a protocol from scratch, totally
Yeah,
new, no forks allowed type of thing. So yes, I mean, Yubo allowed me to kind of trade and do it in a way that was kind of efficient. But then I was publishing articles as well on Medium. But then I got approached by an incubator, and then they wanted to say, okay, this looks cool, and then they allowed me to kind of push this forward and say, wait, we can actually transform it a little bit, not just kind of the interface, but the protocol itself. That's Uniswap. So Uniswap has a way to track positions. That's an NFT, and you may have seen it in your wallet. And it's good, but it could be better. The way that you track positions is also good, but could be better because it could be more gas efficient. So that was kind of the starting point. But as the journey came in and said, okay, this looks like an options protocol, maybe we say providing liquidity is selling options, and that's kind of the entry point. And if you start from that, if you short an LP token, you take the other side. You can buy an option, and that is kind of the key. Providing liquidity is selling. You can only sell. No one can take the other side. If you can short someone else's LP token and pay it back later, you borrow, unwrap its component, wait 2 weeks, pay it back. You get the same unlimited upside exposure as buying an option. And you can buy and sell in the same transaction, and you have a way to limit impermanent loss. It's a spread, and there's many things that now can be unraveled. We started building this like almost like a research project. It was, all right, let's do it this way. And it's an option. What about expiry? Most options have an expiry, but if we're to add an expiry or add a block where everything expires, that is more complex than say, wait, these options don't have to expire. So they are perpetual options. What is this? And then we do research and say, it's not too bad. It's simpler to do it this way. Why not do it this way? And at the end of the day, we created, and then maybe that's why it took so long. It's like a research project where we were building, making sure we ironed out all the kinks and making sure that the whole thing was sound and resilient. And with the audits, with everything that kind of made it secure as it is, because we did 4 or 5 audits, we did invariant testing, we did a lot of things to it, crowdsourced, also like manual, but that was the main holdup. The protocol has been pretty much static for the past 6 to 8 months, but then we've been testing it very, very thoroughly. And the final audit that we did in November, I guess, in October, was to do Uniswap v4 compatibility. So we were building on v3. V4 is catching up to us, so we also have v4 compatibility. And then now we're doing internal testing now. So the team, we're 12 people. We're doing a trading competition, and we do it on base for the gas, but we'll launch on mainnet as well. But we do it with the Brett token. And from your bubble chart, Brett was a gainer.
yeah.
People, if you sell a call there, you get lost. So it was it's still ongoing.
So $1 billion market cap meme coin.
And then we the team collectively owned perhaps $1,000 worth of that in trading. But we can buy options. I sell options. Someone from my team buys it. I buy it back. So it's very, very, and again, with the interface, I'm extremely excited to do this for all the coins, and not just like PvP that we do, but like you don't know who's the other side, but you can all transparently see what they do. But yeah, so the end result is that we can launch an options protocol on any Uniswap pool. That means any meme coin or stable coin or any token, you can have an options market that falls very naturally out of the Uniswap smart contract. Uniswap is like an options clearinghouse, as well as being that kind of swap trading venue, a spot trading venue. So that's kind of the only way to solve LP's problems, and the only way to solve making options work on the blockchain is through kind of Uniswap and EMMs. And that's kind of what Panoptic does. It's just a layer that links the two, option side and also LP side.
Right. And that's probably I don't want to say it's the holy grail, but it's something that a lot of people have been asking for. It's like, how can I farm short on some of these options? I mean, obviously you can do it on the downside with a regular, V3 pool on concentrated liquidity, but if you could take an option or just, the mechanics behind that, I think that's something that would be, to a lot more people, especially if they have experience in this space, especially in TradFi, that's a much more palatable option because you understand how those work. So Panoptic coming out with that, I think, is going to be a huge boon for the community. It's going to answer a lot of questions for people who are looking to come into DeFi to, specifically provide different types of liquidity moving forward. And, congrats, just looking at your guys' page, just seeing the support that you guys have been able to build over the last couple of years. What a group of people you have here behind you guys. So obviously very excited to see what happens, for you guys. And what I did want to ask is just a couple of simple questions, like, what's a jade lizard? I love the name for it. I'm just very curious as to,
I know, it will go deep. This is all like part of it marketing, but also part of it useful to have these fancy names for option strategies.
Right.
Again, GameStop made people buy call options. And
yes,
even a call, there's an expiry and a strike. And people bought the $1,000 strike and the weekly expiry, saying that we believe the price of GameStop will go to more than 1,000 at the end of the week. And this was ridiculous, but because people bought it, it impacted the market. That made it go from 150 to, I don't know, what, 300-400 was the top. But you can still impact the market by trading the option. But call options, put options is very simple, but there's still two parameters, two numbers to keep in mind. By the time you get to multi-legs, and this is what, again, people show it, but it's 3 options minted at the same time, and they are netted against one another. And the capital requirement, it's all leverage, but you have some leverage component to it that depends on these 6 parameters of each one of those, like the 3 legs. So at the end of the day, if you want to say, I'm selling a put and a call and buying a put, it's very, very hard to say and understand, but it's a jade lizard. It makes it very easy to track. So even jade lizard is a bit niche, but at the end of the day, it's just an option trade that allows you to get more return if the price stays, neutral to bullish. And it could be bullish, that would be just buying an option, but neutral to bullish is one type of option. Neutral to bearish would be a different one. Or neutral is also a different one. So all of these names, we feature them on our interface as well, but it comes from kind of industry lingo, and people know what straddles and strangles, because that's what makers trade. But I don't know if you can look at the other ones that we included, but Jade Lizard is one of them that is coming from the Tasty Trade universe, which is kind of this TradFi option trading platform, of course, but they also have a lot of content. But straddle, Jade Lizard, long calls. There's an infinite number of them. We list maybe 10 or 15 of them. Maybe it's a bit too much and overwhelming, but on the main interface, you can actually choose on any one of those.
Oh, I think the flexibility of these are fantastic. It takes your concentrated liquidity plays to a new dimension, in my opinion, because now you can have more complex things going on. So one thing I wanted to ask about specifically with Uniswap V4 coming out is composability. Is there a way to? Is there any parts of the system that are somewhat composable? There's a team we met in Salt Lake and also Denver. There's Supa and Superform, which are just ways to just put together composable steps. Is this something that you might be able to use composably to build a whole set of DeFi Legos for strategies?
Yeah, and I think we do it at the options level, and we try to be feature complete with TradFi.
Oh,
and
perfect.
what you do this in TradFi is that you have a brokerage firm that allows you to trade options. The same amount of funds can buy stocks. Maybe you can trade futures as well. So you already have this composability, even though each one of them talks the CME for futures or SIBO for options, and kind of maybe NASDAQ for trades. It's all kind of housed under that same app. So we work on the option side, but it turns out that with options, you are linked to Uniswap and trade as well. So it's even more composable than what you see on the other ones, because you can have like swaps happening in the options engine if you want. But
okay.
I think the whole power of DeFi is to be composable, to be open source, be open access. Anyone can try it and create a vault that is a Jade Lizard managed by someone. But if people want to give that money to that vault to be managed for them, you can do Jade Lizards all night long, and you get the exposure that it's supposed to get you. So we do have all of this is open source. All of this is easy to access. The goal of options is it's like almost like atoms or kind of prime numbers with very simple instruments, puts and calls. You can create any payoff you want. You can kind of decompose anything you can create a perp-like product, like a perp, but it's based out of options, and that's something you can trade. So the whole, I'd say, whole ecosystem will be kind of hopefully harnessing, like attaching itself to Panoptic for the options need. And you can just have lending on one side, you can have swapping on the other side, but like we will be part of that kind of building block ecosystem and have options be accessible for anyone.
Andrew, did you have any questions for Guillaume specifically about Panoptic?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna try to be brief. So, what is required for a market to be created? So, like, say I want to buy a put option on a meme coin that I think is going to go to zero. Now, I can't always do that because somebody doesn't want the other side of that trade, right? How does that work, and how are options writers incentivized?
Yeah. So and again, we know that there's a supply of options writers and options sellers because Uniswap has a ton of liquidity on all like long tail assets. And if you go to Pepe ETH pool, the LPs in that pool, they are selling these put options. And they are already taking that risk that if the Pepe price goes to zero, they're stuck with $1 trillion Pepe that's worth zero. And that's the exact same risk as selling an option. So that, like, TM, because Uniswap has demonstrated that people are ready to take that risk for, of course, big pairs, but also long tails, then for them, if you buy that put for them, again, they have to deploy it through Panoptic. They have to deposit some funds in the Panoptic first to be able to do it. But if they do LPing in Pepe ETH or LPing in Uniswap, in Uniswap or Panoptic, they get the same return. But if you, Andrew, comes in and said, I want to buy that put option, you're going to pay a bit more to the initial seller, and they're going to make a tiny bit more. Could be 1% more, could be 10% more, could be 100% more in fees. That can compensate for that risk. And that's kind of the missing piece. As I mentioned earlier, ETH in USDC has a much lower IV because no one can buy. So I would be buying options in ETH USDC because the volatility is cheap. I would be making money statistically in the long run. And the meme coin world, they are selling on very high volatility assets and they are getting compensated. And if they keep doing this, it's because it's worthwhile, but it could be even more efficient because you may think that the price is going to go down, they buy a put. Someone can think it's going to go up, they buy a call. They kind of double dip and get Uniswap fees, but also Panoptic fees as well.
So you're not able to just tap into all the liquidity that already exists. It's like they have to deploy it just through Panoptic or through both?
Yeah, so it ends up in Uniswap. So if there's a Pepe pool that exists now, I can come in and sell a single put option in the Panoptic pool. It's going to sit within that existing liquidity in the Pepe ETH pool in Uniswap. So it's going to be stable, I guess, a bit more. There could be $10 million worth of liquidity on the Uniswap side and 1,000 on the Panoptic side, but the price will move as if there's, again, 1 million or 10 million because it's in the same pool. We have to convert, and that's kind of the BD side of it. Can we recruit those LPs to see the light and understand that being on Panoptic could be strictly better in all kind of scenarios? But even if not, if 50% is still in Panoptic versus Uniswap, you can still tap into that liquidity for price stability and not necessarily price kind of for buying the options themselves.
Oh man, it's interesting because now like you have an option, you have an opportunity to really like take a lot of liquidity straight from Uniswap without actually taking it from Uniswap because it's still going to be there. It can serve multiple purposes. But also you have this value proposition to LPs, right? That you're going to make more money here.
And yes, and if they make more, if people are buying options, and if they're not buying options, they make as much, or at least the same as before. So we hope
they're still get their regular LP fees. They're still providing liquidity for the trades. if it isn't locked in an options contract that would pay more.
Yeah, I mean, they sell the options, and then even if no one buys it, they get paid. And that's the beauty that, again, market makers kind of are kind of, you see their eyes light up when you see this. When you do a market making on a order book, you need to sell. You need to someone to cross that bid ask to make money. If you can, that's why people remove their, like, widen the bid ask spread when it's volatile because they don't know, but they can receive no trades over the course of the day. They make no money with me, they lose no money. And that's kind of one reality of order book space market making. In Uniswap, in the perpetual options world, in perps is even, you provide liquidity and you get paid. Day one, first block, because you collect fees from that realized component of trading, and people buying will now be more, but you will still kind of get the initial baseline.
I feel like I need to go read your white paper now before.
I mean, I don't know.
You guys launch.
Even the interface, we tried to make it unique. It's a very, very complex part of finance options. Of course, like the hedge funds and the banks, they've known about it for like 40 years, and they know how to trade those, and they make a lot of money because it's hard to understand. Once you get it, it's kind of, there's some mechanisms. Mechanistically, it's not too hard, but you have to understand them. But retail has no access to this. Yes, you can buy options, but it's very hard to be consistently profitable. Selling options, creating kind of these defined risk, which is kind of limiting your losses or being neutral. It's one of those things where anyone should be able to exist, not just the rich hedge funds guys type of thing. And that's kind of the promise of DeFi. You don't have to, again, as I said, rely on your brokerage firm application to be able to trade options. You can do it hopefully at smaller size and with losses that you can manage, but learn this way, as opposed to wait till you're, or never trade ever, or wait till you're part of a bank system to actually do it.
No, I think you're absolutely right, and that's the amazing part. Obviously, there is, to kind of look at what Kelly has said here, is that the strategies, they are complicated for the average user. This is not, you're going to have to learn a little bit, and we're hoping to work with you on this to help outline a lot of these strategies moving forward. But it is a very powerful way to level up on just basic concentrated liquidity, because now you have multiple options for not only protecting your downside, but also to hedge and to profit off of that as well. So to me, that's the most exciting part of this. I did want to ask really quick, since you'd mentioned you guys are coming up with coming up on the launch of Uniswap V4, how is that really affected how the protocol is moving, or has it given you mentioned that you guys are going to be just supercharged by V4. Can you kind of expand on exactly what parts of Uniswap V4 are going to be really good for Panoptic overall as a protocol?
Yeah, so we we call this Panoptic V1.1. It's the same as V1, but a tiny bit more. So we don't lean into the hooks ourselves. We don't make it so that we are managing liquidity, but we're the liquidity provider layer for all of these hooks, all of the new applications. And again, with Uniswap V4, it's almost too diverse, but anyone can build any AMM they want. And it's fine on the swap side. You have different curves, different kind of ways to execute a price. But on the LP side, you still need to manage your LP position. Even though the price is happening on a off-chain system, it sells on-chain, you have to know how to manage your LP position. So we can create options on any Uniswap V4 pools or teams or whoever is building a new feature. We can help them with the LP side by creating an options, but then you can create an options on a hook in a ETHUSDC pool that does something, may create arbitrage opportunity with a different hook on a different ETHUSDC tier. So it's just we are providing a service to all Uniswap V3 LP pools, but also Uniswap V4 hooks and kind of new AMMs that will be created as well.
Yeah, and that there's going to be so much floating around with V4 coming out, and just already with V3 out there, and the different types of concentrated liquidity systems that are out there. My last question, again, I want to be respectful of your time. I want to thank you so much for being here today. So there are multiple other concentrated liquidity, systems out there besides Uniswap. Are there any plans to integrate with something like Slipstream, like Algebra, like LFJ's liquidity book? Is that something that can easily be, I don't want to say ported, but adapted to those systems.
Yeah, so we see this ecosystem flourishing, and yes, we do want to integrate with as many of them. The V1 was a bit more V3 centric because we started 2 years ago with only this. So integration is a bit harder, but yes, we have the plans for the next iteration to be like a modules that kind of handles all of the integration. Or do you structure the call to swap this way or the call to LP this way? Yes, we can handle this, no problem, and still talk to the main kind of Panoptic pool. So the if it's a pure fork of Uniswap v3, like we've seen on Blast or even like PancakeSwap, we can work also on day one. But yeah, anything that is different enough may need more work for us, but that's fine. The next version will be a lot more composable. And again, we want to be you have the capital layer, which is lending protocols, and this is people earning yield. And on the other side, you have the active layer, which is swapping and trading and Uniswap. And then we kind of link the two maybe. We have capital layers that could help LPing and provide liquidity to satisfy the demand of traders. But that is kind of the connecting tissue to all of these protocols. We can have a Morpho-like connector or a Compound and Aave, or now we have two AMMs that come together, and we have kind of this options platform in the middle, but that can connect to all of these kind of different protocols as well.
Amazing. The ideas in my head for the last 20 minutes since we started talking about this, I just wish we would have started earlier, to be honest, because there's so much more to really ask and talk about. But I want to be respectful of your time. Thank you so much, Guillaume, for joining us here. For those who have asked, Panoptic is not launched yet. They're technically still in Sepolia testnet, but you did mention Base. So is there a chance that there's a simultaneous launch on Base and mainnet at the same time, or will it be mainnet first and then Base?
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. If you do some on-chain investigation, you could even kind of take a poke at our contracts, the interface, the UI. You won't be able to access it, but yeah. So the long story short, we have Sepolia on the website. It's a bit clunky because Sepolia, nothing interesting happens there, but you can have a preview of what it looks like. Very soon we're launching. We will launch on mainnet because at the end of the day, we serve TVL, and TVL is still the largest one on mainnet. Even though gas is high, we have to serve this as well and not kind of shut our system and not go there. But we quickly realized that it's easy to spin up to new layer 2s and new out layer 1s if it's EVM compatible, but also for traction, it's much easier for me as we do this trading operation to trade 5 times a day and pay 25 cents and try different things, as opposed to think about it, pay $25. And it's a small scale trade that you don't want to pay $25 for, so we won't trade. So we will likely launch very, very quickly after the mainnet launch. End of the year, maybe, or early Q1 2025. But yeah, that's kind of the roadmap.
Okay. Thank you so much. And again, thank you to Andrew for being here with us today. Excited to thank you for the questions, Andrew. Always good to have you as a part of the show. And
I'm excited.
Me too. Yeah, this is go ahead.
I've been excited about this product for so long, Professor. Been waiting for 2 years.
I know it's
interested in the new LP yield opportunities. Also, thinking about every client I've ever spoken to that's like, it was like, man, like, how do I hedge this? Like, it's hard and awkward, and you might be better off going to a CEX for it. So this is like such a huge missing piece to the DeFi ecosystem working, and having, like, there's no reason why you would need to use a centralized exchange. If you've got all the liquidity, you've got lending markets, you've got options, you've got perp dexes, like perp dexes and now options. And I think this has such a great chance to, like, be the GMX of options, be the first thing that everybody tries to copy. And
I think the key point is that people say, oh, perps have replaced options in the crypto world, because at the end of the day, options serve a unique purpose. They are needed. Futures and perps are needed. Lending is needed. So there's always a need for it. And again, hopefully with Panoptic, will bring DeFi on par feature-wise with traditional finance. And that's a starting point, in my opinion. Afterwards, now we can innovate. Now we can combine ways that ways that the financial instruments can be combined is uniquely easy to do on DeFi in a way that TradFi can never hope to catch up. So we'll exceed the features, the efficiency, all of the benefits of doing finance will be strictly better again on DeFi very soon. And then once this is seen and recognized, we started with the SEC and the regulation. Like regulation will have to take notice. You cannot stop that train. That's kind of the final thought, I guess.
Feature complete DeFi soon.
Ooh, I like that. You guys can have that one for free. I like it. I like it. Stick around for a second, Guillaume, as we kind of do our little outro here. Thanks again for joining us today. We'll definitely have to have you back on. Hopefully not for another, I know it's been almost 3 years. Hopefully we can get you back on once you guys have launched. We can kind of run through the product a little bit. And all the best to you. We're so excited for your success. A lot of people have asked about you in our mastermind and all of our communities ever since you've been on. So happy to have you here in the community today. And I look forward to seeing the next time I see you, maybe at ETH Denver or wherever else our paths cross. So again, all the best. Excited to have you here. For everybody who's tuning in, we are actually going to have another live stream on Friday. I decided to do a live stream here. It'll be on the YouTube channel, same as Twitter, because Friday is my birthday. So I'm going to say we're going to do another live stream. And our guest is going to be Shreddy from DeFi.app, a really awesome hybrid CEX product that we met at Salt Lake City, mainly because I have to catch a flight later on in the day and I'm merging Town Hall and Beat the Banks into one call. Again, we're here every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern, where we have a panel of the best and the brightest in Web3 to really just help kind of break down everything we have going on as that's important to you, our lovely community members. And again, if you know anybody who wants to learn more about DeFi, you can learn from the best in the business, absolutely free, total value locked, beaconschool.com/beacon. Join today. Happy to have you. Join the hundreds that have flooded over to us and are making money today. And then soon with Panoptic, all kinds of great strategies. So excited to have you all here. We'll see you on Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern, for the talk with Shreddy from DeFi.app. And then we'll see you again here next Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern, for another Total Value Locked. Ladies and gentlemen, take care. We'll see you on Friday. As we always say, beacons up, banks down. Take care, everyone.